Words fade, but action ignites change. Dr. Rob shows how showing up unleashes love's unstoppable force, and you can go make it happen. Hi, I'm Arnie Cole, your spiritual fitness researcher and coach. Welcome to the Spiritually Fit Today podcast, where we always say the best way to become a stronger Christ follower tomorrow is to get spiritually fit today. One step, one choice, one spiritual rep at a time, because what you do today matters. Can't forget the scripture today because it's a different one. Let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Man, that is so true. Talk's cheap. So my friend, Dr. Rob Rhodes is here. We're talking about doing life and an attitude of gratitude during this hard time of Thanksgiving. I love some of the stories from your book. It's like Little House on the Prairie. I mean, I'm a Newport Beach guy, and I know you worked in Newport Beach as a kid, but you have this story that's very dear to me about your dad. Tell me what happened. Set the setting.
Sure. So growing up on our farm in Iowa, again, taught a lot of great lessons, but one of the best lessons I remember was actually during a very dark and scary time for our family, but it was taught by our neighbors.
Okay.
My dad had been battling an ear infection, and we didn't know how serious it was. And at that time, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. Uh-huh. But as I would go forward in my medical training and eventually becoming a physician, I realized how serious it was. He'd been battling an ear infection that had kind of moved its way into the inner part of the ear and into the bones behind the ear, where the skull comes together with the back of our jaw, called the mastoid. And my dad had an infection in there that wasn't responding to drops, wasn't responding to oral antibiotics at the time, and we were sitting at supper, and my mom said, well, Dusty, you're going to tell the kids? And he goes, yeah, we're going to actually go down to the University of Iowa hospitals tomorrow. I've got an infection in my ear, mm-hmm. and we're going to get a medicine that's going to come through an IV, and we're going to take care of it that way. And he didn't seem too worried about it. But we knew something was up because Mom and Dad were going to be gone for several days. About 2 days later, I remember waking up, and there was a big commotion outside of our house in our driveway. And we looked out the windows, and my sisters ran to another window in the house, and there were combines and tractors and wagons and everything. Because it was during our harvest time. It was October, wow. And my dad wasn't there. And right. So word had spread that my dad was hospitalized in Iowa City and was getting this medication. And they came and gave us one of the biggest gifts we could ask for, which was to take the relief and the worry of the harvest and take it up to the elevator on our family's behalf. And in the book, I kind of joke about the fact that my dad always said that the only thing that was green on our farm was the soybeans and the corn. All our implements, all our tractors were red. So we were an international harvester or case or farm all family. And some of our neighbors were John Deere families. Everything was green. I suppose the analogy is kind of like, are you a Coke person or a Diet Coke? Or are you a Ford or a Chevy? Well, we were red. But Dad, I know, didn't mind that there were a variety and rainbow of colors that were helping harvest that fall. And it was a huge relief. It was very generous. And still to this day, I can picture some of the neighbors' faces or names that I remember. And I know that they're up in heaven with Dad. And this time of the year at the harvest with fall, they're all rolling up their sleeves and talking about how hard they worked when they were back in the day with 6 or 8 row combines, right, and now they've got 24-row combines with computers and drones and all these different things that seem like they were probably from some sci-fi movie. But yeah, our family really appreciated our neighbors showing up.
That must have really, talk about rewiring your brain, that must have really had an impact on you.
It did. When you stop and think about the opportunities we have to interact with someone in a given day, a stranger, a friend, a family. We don't know what they're going through at that time. I was a kid looking through the lens of a child and realizing that Dad was sick. But to have a neighbor then call another neighbor, to call another neighbor, to call another neighbor to help harvest our large harvest, it just showed that idea of how can you be a good Samaritan? How can you pay it forward? How can you make a difference in a stranger's life? our neighbors weren't strangers to us, but we will encounter people that we don't know. And how can we make their day better? Is it through a smile? Is it through a touch? Is it through a compliment? My aunt just told me this the other day, is that she is trying to do a compliment a day when she sees someone out. And she's been doing that for several months now. And someone just finally acknowledged it and said, thank you. That really meant a lot to me. And my aunt said, well, I just really liked your outfit. And she goes, well, I really needed that today. And when someone responds in that way with just that kind compliment or voice and absorbs it and then responds back, it's a nice loop. It's a nice way to continue to kind of pay it forward. So yeah, growing up, I think it was probably one of the things that inspired me to become a physician, that I wanted to be compassionate and caring for other people. I wanted to give back. And that's what I saw that morning when I saw all those tractors and combines there.
Wow. So for all you type A people out there that are chasing the American dream, this is maybe early America as far as the digital age goes. But these farmers, they had to keep a living going, and they stopped chasing their dream to help someone else. And you can say, well, it was different then, but really the dynamics are the same. And look at the impact it had on someone who these guys probably didn't pay much attention to. Back in the day, you didn't pay a lot of attention to kids, and yet it changed his entire perspective on gratitude and giving back to others. I mean, that's just an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you. I think it also, in some ways, it can inspire people to want to volunteer or to give back in a mission in a different way. And it definitely can have that scalability as you think about your circle that you can influence. So I do think that showing up and being present is sometimes just part of that as well. Being present and listening. Yes, you can be a helper or a doer, and that story about the farm is definitely about people that pause their own life to go help a neighbor and show that type of love. And so, yeah, it definitely had an influence, and it's a memory I can still picture. One of the farmers in his overalls and his cup of chew or his can of chew, vividly, I can still see him getting off the tractor, walking towards our house to come knock on the door. Wow.
And nobody asked him. I mean, that's another thing. Most of us, especially that are on the run, we mean well, but I'm not going to anticipate your needs unless you ask me. So to be so tuned in to a family, that's just tremendous.
Yeah, I think it was a gift that we didn't realize how big it was until probably, months later. Because my dad was really on a path that it could have turned out, to be really kind of a detrimental and maybe even, could have been really a bad situation. The infection had got into that bone, and if this antibiotic, it was like the last ditch antibiotic that they were going to use at the University of Iowa, if it didn't work, it would have spread to his brain, and we may have not had a good outcome. So all that's happening in the background while these farmers were unselfish to come over and help us out. And I can almost imagine the pickup trucks in the farm entrances in the fields. They were kind of stopping and talking, and then somebody maybe called another one. But yeah, they all had a plan. They showed up, and man, what would have probably been a several week harvest was one day. And it was, like I said, it was an amazing scene.
What is so neat, too, is it gets your mind thinking differently, even to bring up your aunt giving another person a compliment. Okay, we're not farmers, and we can't go plow your field for you or harvest your field. But there's absolutely no excuse. Any one of us can give someone else a compliment.
I think sometimes it's just that smile.
Yeah.
Maybe a light touch, an acknowledgement. Maybe just that's going to be the most positive thing that someone's going to experience that day that we can give unselfishly and doesn't cost us anything. There's things that we can also do that help someone else. You can pay for someone's coffee in line or, at the drive-through, and you hear about some neat stories there. But some of the kindest and most loving things we can do don't cost us anything. Yeah. It's just actually an outward sign of maybe what Jesus would do. What would Jesus do in this situation? And it's okay to walk like that. It's okay to be generous like that. And it's okay to help someone else out.
We always say what you do matters. What you do today matters. If you think about it, none of those farmers would have ever dreamed the impact it's had on Dr. Rob, and we'd be talking about it years and years later. I mean, just those simple acts of kindness, or just like the ant with the compliment. I mean, we as Christ followers have a tremendous opportunity each and every day. All we got to do is show up, and that's what Dr. Rob has been talking about. So he's going to be back tomorrow. So for our soul pump assignment today, the one big thing to absorb, what you do for someone counts, not only for them, but for you and the kingdom. And then the big thing to do today is just show up for someone in need. Whether it's a compliment, a meal, a visit, you need to do something where you're actually doing something person to person. So maybe drop the digital unless you're just so super busy. But anyways, go a little bit out of your comfort zone and do something nice for someone else. And then our prayer is, Lord, thank you for people who show up when life hurts. Help us be those people for someone else this week. Quiz question. Yesterday, I asked you if you knew where this verse came from. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. That's right. It's from Proverbs 17:22. And if you knew that, give yourself a pat on the back. Today, we're talking about the power of just showing up and the love that this shows. The Apostle Paul had someone like this in his life. Who was Paul talking about when he wrote? And I'll give you a clue. This is what Paul wrote. He often refreshed me and was not ashamed of my chains. But when he arrived in Rome, he searched for me earnestly and found me. This one's tougher because if you want a hint, this guy is only in the Bible a couple times, and he's only in the book of 2 Timothy. If you know the answer, leave a comment, send me an email at arnie.cole@bttb.org. So before you rush back into your day, remember, spiritual fitness isn't about perfection. It's about showing up daily. So celebrate the step you took today, because what you do today truly matters. And if this podcast encouraged you, share it with someone who needs a little hope and strength. We release a new episode of Spiritually Fit Today every weekday. Take your step today, and tomorrow you'll be glad you did.